Hey everyone! Sometimes these things take a couple seconds to start actually recording, but if you are on the other side of this, my name is Becky Park and I have with me Courtney from Common Tags, and I'm so excited to have her. So we will wait just like a couple moments and just hopefully get some chats in saying that people do see us, they hear us, all that good stuff. Let's see. I just see a general hi all. I hope that means that we're good. I see some hays. Hi, Courtney, and sweet blessings, and Leticia. And dear Theodosia, that is the best name. It's from Hamilton. I love. All right. It seems like people can see us and hear us. Courtney, hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
Anything for you.
Oh, geez. Well, I don't know if you're aware, but I started this thing called the Summer Listing Challenge, and really it was for myself because I needed a swift kick in the butt to just really kind of hit the ground running, and I thought it would be a really cool thing to try and do with some other people. And so one of the things that I thought would be really cool is for me to not be the only person kind of sharing any advice or tips or anything like that, because while I feel like I'm pretty decent at it, I know that there are other people out there who have been doing it for longer or who have different perspectives on things. And so for you, I think we have really different business models. One, because you're, in California, and the kinds of stuff that you get to thrift is pretty different. You're also full time. And so one of the things that I wanted to bring you on my channel to talk about, because I feel like you're amazing at this, and you were saying before we hopped on that you didn't know why I chose you for this topic. So let me tell you why. But I feel like you are so consistent. At least that's the aura that you put out into YouTube. And I feel that way because you have two YouTube channels and you consistently are uploading videos on both, which I feel like is hard on YouTube. You get those people that are pretty strong, and then they're they take a 3-month long break and then they're back. I feel like you're very consistent with keeping up with your listing and your shipping. And then on top of that, whenever you do these haul videos, you're always yeah, most of this stuff is already listed. And I'm but how? How did you do that? And so that's why I brought you on to talk about consistency, because I, for one, feel like I have a lot to learn from you in regards to that idea of consistency. So all of that being said, how do you feel? Do you feel?
I know. I just threw that out at you. I'm really surprised you picked me for this topic, but I guess how you described it is fair. And I do hope I give off a perspective that I have a good grasp on things. But I think the word consistency, from what I hear in the reselling community, a lot of people subscribe to one type of model of what that means. And I don't think I subscribe to quite the same model of consistency that I hear a lot of. And it's taken me a couple of years to figure out what consistency means for me as a reseller. And I think it works for me, and it may work for some, it may not work for everyone. But I think that's probably the key thing. When I saw your post earlier today on Instagram, I was like, oh man, do I have to, okay, I should think about what I'm going to talk about with consistency. What is consistency to me? And I think that's probably the best starting point. Is consistency does not mean the same thing to you, the same thing to me, the same thing to someone watching. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it just means that there is something that you're doing on a regular basis. What the break between that is going to vary from person to person. And it might not be something I remember I watched some people on YouTube, since you brought up YouTube, where they were you need to set your video days to be, Mondays and Wednesdays and Fridays. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've seen some of those people that say you should have an upload schedule. And I have never had an upload schedule. And it's because that puts so much pressure on me. Mm-hmm. And really, I have been consistent on YouTube. But if I had that extra requirement, I think I would have bailed a long time ago, because it would have put too much pressure on me. Kind of like with reselling, you hear the daily stuff. And I remember meeting someone when I first started eBay, and they were not only do you have to post daily or list daily, but you need to list the same number every day, try and aim for the same time of day. And I was like, what am I signing up for?
Yeah.
Does I get no time off? Does this mean I have no life, no freedom? Uh-huh. And so I don't subscribe to those types of models, but I do value consistency. And I think that it is incredibly important. It's just, what do you define as consistency that works for you?
Yeah. So I love that. And I think that's really important. That's just an important theme, I think, just in life is just because something works for one person doesn't mean that it's going to work the same way for someone else. So like what you were talking about with like the YouTube gurus that are out there that are like, you have to post at the same time at, you know, on the same day of the week. And like, it does work for some people and it makes sense for some, you know, channels and whatnot. But like you said, because you understand how you're hardwired and you know that that's putting too much pressure on yourself and you're kind of setting yourself up to fail at that point. And it's the same thing with like the eBay listings. Like I've heard that too, like you should list them at this time of day and you should do this many per day. But it's like, what happens when life happens? You know, like you're gonna beat yourself up and, you know, consider yourself a failure. So I think that's really important. So for you then, what does it mean within your business to be consistent? So you're not necessarily listing the same number of days at the same time of day, but like what things are you doing to be consistent?
So I think at this point, and you know, at the beginning of the year, I really, I realized that what am I doing with my business? And is this the direction I want to go? And that affected my social media and that affected how I was handling my business as far as the work days. And I really wanted to give myself some time off and have a personal life, work-life balance, which is, I think, really crucial. I've had the jobs where I've worked a bajillion hours and haven't had a break. And although those can pay off, and I'm sure if I stepped it up with reselling, I could do better, but I'm one person. The only help I get, and I've gotten with the exception of a couple months of trying someone to package for me, is I have someone trim my closet once per day on Poshmark. Other than that, I have zero help. And if I put so much pressure on myself to not take time off, to constantly grow, and this is YouTube and eBay, Poshmark, all of that, I will end up hating it. And then I'll end up not doing it. So I think at the beginning of the year, I was like, I need to set boundaries. So what consistency means for me is set some boundaries that are realistic for you and then achieve those. Because, and I think in your video, because you talked about consistency last week, a lot of what you said, although not every detail is the same, a lot of what you said was the same, which is like, you don't want to set yourself up for failure. You know, if you are a brand new reseller, you don't want to say you want to list 20 things per day. You know, which I think is what you said. You want to. Like that is huge if you're a new reseller. For me, that's probably not going to be enough, but you just have to constantly like just be aware of your situation, set realistic goals, and then hit those goals. And I think that like your listing challenge this week, which I love, I set challenges for myself where I'll just wake up or the night before I'll say, I have this pile of stuff I'm so excited to list, or I want to get a video out. That's usually my push. 50 items. I want to get this video out tomorrow. And so I've got to spend all today photographing, measuring, listing. And then all of a sudden I've got 50 listings up in one day, which is not normal for me. That is a lot of work. So I average consistency for me is typically more on a weekly basis. So every week I want at least 2 YouTube videos up. I want, you know, around 70 to 100 new listings. And those are kind of my bare minimum goals. And then when I do it, it just kind of depends on my week. So
I think that's great because you're allowing yourself that room in your schedule for not only life to happen, but also like for you to enjoy life. Like not just like, oh no, like my dog is sick, but like also to say like, I'm gonna, you know, like read a book or I'm gonna go out for a hike or whatever. Like that's really important. And I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat say like, yeah, like for my listing challenge, I set my bar low. Like I had low expectations for myself because the idea is you know, if you can set a goal that's realistic, like you said, and you meet it, you can go beyond it and you feel really good about the fact that you're like, oh my God, I killed it, you know, versus I said I was going to do 20, but I did like 4, like wah, you know, like,
or like you said in your example, like I'm going to list this much each day. And then you only list it one day. You took 6 days where you didn't list anything. And it sets you up for disappointment and failure. And I think it's okay to set those like crazy goals on certain days. Or certain weeks, like a listing challenge on a week. If you have just an abundance of product and you're like, I need to get on top of this before I can thrift again. I think those can be really great and helpful. But I think in the long term, the grand scheme of things, if you're part-time or full-time, you need to have some boundaries and you need to have some realistic goals so that you feel good about it, you know?
Yeah, for sure. How do you feel like this idea of consistency, and we've kind of talked about how that term is pretty fluid, but how do you feel like that has evolved as you've grown your reselling business, as well as, with juggling two YouTube channels, mind you, at that, but like, how has that changed for you?
I think that ultimately it's for me, and what I know about myself is that if I take on too much, then I'm going to probably be pretty mediocre at a lot of things. And so, when I left my full-time job, I was only selling on Poshmark, but I knew when I was leaving that I was going to do two additions, which was eBay and YouTube. And that would not only fill up some more time, but also possibly be revenue generating. And so I think that really, again, I got some bad advice, and I hate to say it, but there is, and it's not even bad advice. I don't want to critique other people who have a different opinion or share different perspectives. I think my only thing is when someone makes a statement that you have to do it this way. Mm-hmm. I'm very turned off by people like that, because I think that can really harm someone from really being successful in reselling. And what I would rather see is more people saying, this works for me. This works with my life and how I do things and my mental state, my emotional state. But there are other ways of doing things. And I think you're a great example of that. Every time you share something, it's like, this works for me. Or one thing you, and I think both I do and you do, is we're not afraid to try something different. So the biggest change I've made is I was trying, because someone, got in the back of my, whatever the expression is, the back, not the back of my head, but the back of my, whatever, sitting on my shoulder and talking to me and just like, wow, it's going to kill me that I can't remember it. Anyways, someone got in my ear, and I was like, I wouldn't go to bed until 2 a.m. because I was like, I need to get 7 listings up or 10 listings up. And I can't miss this day, and I can't mess this up. And I think that was really terrible advice for me, because it really ate away at a little bit of my enjoyment of reselling. And then again, this year has really been find some enjoyment. I want a simple life. I want to pay my bills, but I don't want to be, I don't want some like mega crazy powerhouse reselling company. Like, that's not my goal. So, I think just not subscribing to everything that you think everyone's doing, because there are different people out there doing different things. And it's pretty incredible when you start networking and you start watching different people. Oh, not everyone does this. Yeah. Oh, I thought everyone had to do this. No, that's not true.
Yeah. And I think I definitely stole that from you, because I remember you talking about it in your videos when I would watch you before I started my channel, and just, how much you hated it when people like stated their advice as if it was gospel truth. Like, this is how you must execute your reselling business. And it's like, well, like, didn't we all get into this so that we could be our own bosses? Like, why are you trying to boss?
That's a great way of putting it, though. Like, no one on YouTube or on Instagram is your boss. No one. And I remember someone saying they had gone to eBay Open a number of times. Well, I heard this from an eBay employee, so it's matter of fact, it's the truth. And I'm like, eBay is a big company. Unless they're on that specific team working on that specific product, they might not actually know everything either. So again, could I possibly sell more or do more? Absolutely. But I think that I've figured out that my sales right now are not affected by me only listing, 4 days a week or something like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Kat, thank you so much for this super sticker. So I wanted to take this time really quickly to kind of let you guys know what we were going to do with super chats and super stickers and all of that. But I asked all of my guests this week, if I got any super chats or anything like that, I told them that I would love to donate that amount to a charity of their choice, and I will be matching that donation as well. So Courtney picked this project, and it's called the Harmony Project, and I'm going to let her talk about it really quickly. And I thought it was so sweet, because like the reasoning behind why she picked it, I was like, oh. So do you want to tell us a little bit about the Harmony Project?
Yeah. So I picked this because I wanted to find something that kind of we both had some connection to, whether you knew about it or not. So I live 2 hours north of Los Angeles, and so I'm in Southern California, and I found an organization, the Harmony Project, that promotes basically vocal everything. I mean, kind of music, education, music, after school activities and all of that for LA-based people. And if you don't know what Becky does, she's a choir teacher. And I did chamber many years ago. I don't know how, because I don't have a good voice, but I have a soft spot for choir teachers that are awesome, that are really helpful. They help kids in so many ways. And I just thought this was a really great program because it's local to me, but it's kind of a piece of you. And so I thought it would be a good one at this time.
Awesome. Well, okay. So thank you for suggesting that. I'm trying to, okay, here we go. Here's the super sticker. So thank you so much, Kat. We are $2 into sending this amazing charity some money. So that's awesome. Oh, speaking of, one of my students is in the chat, Matthew Andrea. He always makes an appearance. Hi, Matthew. I miss you. So that's always fun. So that's awesome. I'm really excited to make a donation to them. And I was reading up a little bit on the foundation, and it sounds right up my alley. Like you said, it sounds really amazing. So that is great. Okay, so someone on Instagram actually asked a question that's kind of along the lines of what we were talking about. Georgia Lee F, I might be saying that incorrectly, but she asked, what are your short-term and long-term goals for your business? So you kind of talked about how you're kind of like okay where you're at, but do you have any like short-term or even long-term goals in mind?
Yeah, it's hard right now to plan anything. I think we're all probably feeling that a little bit. I mean, just an hour ago, our governor announced that more things are reclosing, and it's not, to what I can see, it hasn't affected thrift stores, but that could happen in a couple days. So everything is just so up in the air. It's hard to think of a short term, and that's okay. Long term, where I would ultimately like to get actually applies to it applies to consistency and what that means to me and how I value my work-life balance. Long term, I would love to get to a place where I can work, 10 to 11 months out of the year and take a year or two, take a whole year off during the year, take a month or 2 months.
Stop working. Oops.
Yeah, just stop working. Take those off and just travel and enjoy life without reselling. So that's a long-term goal, but looks like some more people coming through.
Yes, Christy with the $9.99 super sticker, and Alexandra. Thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing. And again, this is all going to such a wonderful charity. So thank you so much for that. Yeah, I think that's awesome. The idea of planning ahead so much and saving enough so that you can enjoy your life. Like, why are you working so hard if it's just to keep working? Like, there needs to be time set aside to like refresh and rest and do all of that. So that's really good. So in the closing downs in your state, does that involve like thrift stores or anything like that?
Well, we were shut down for, I think, one of the longest states. I don't think we were the longest, but we were shut down early, and then we were kind of on the later side of reopening. So I've gone a few times. It's overwhelming because now I will say I've been to Goodwills and non-Goodwills, multiple different places, and Goodwill has a person at the door, and it's like 1/4 of their capacity. So they have these little dots outside, and you go in and it's completely dead. You're not around anyone. Mm-hmm. So I feel very comfortable. I haven't been to the bins yet. I know a lot of people ask, but it might just be a quick pop in just to see the process. But to be honest, it's just so, it's hard to be in a thrift store when you're wearing a mask, when you feel the pressure of like, I've got to go. And it just, everything is kind of thrown off. But right now they announced today that like most inside things were closing again, effective immediately. But that doesn't say retail shops. It did say indoor malls, which are like grand, large, but not retail shops. So, but he could, if the cases keep going up, if the deaths keep going up, then it could pop in a couple days. So we'll see.
Yeah. And I think you brought up a good point. Like, it's hard right now to like make goals and to think about even like short term, just what is it that I want to accomplish, because so much is unknown. Like, it's really hard to even know what tomorrow is going to look like you said, so definitely, we have to show ourselves some grace in that aspect too, of just like, and then people kind of grapple with this kind of stuff differently too. Like, some people can kind of take it in stride, but for others, it really has an effect on their mental health. And, so just again, like really being able to understand how you're hardwired and understanding like what you need to do for yourself in order to be able to perform at your best only then can you even begin to think about being consistent in different like reselling tasks and whatever. But if you're not even in a good state mentally, like you can't really.
Which actually, I mean, anyone who's beating themselves up, I saw some meme where there, or not a meme, it was a commercial where there was this guy, I'm sure it was on a YouTube video. I'm sure he was like an Amazon seller trying to promote something, not to knock those ads, but he was basically saying that we've learned this pandemic that there are two types of people, one that sits on the couch all day and does nothing, and then the other that
from a Macari commercial.
I don't know what it was.
I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Okay, keep going. So I watched that and I'm like, that makes any person kind of feel bad if they had a week, 2 weeks, 2 months of kind of a lull.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I know that you're busy with kids, and that probably kind of keeps you a little bit boosted. It was just like you need to keep going with life. But I definitely was more inconsistent for a period of time, and I saw more inconsistency with my business, and YouTube really took a hit for me. Just the views, people weren't in their routines. And so, I stepped back a little bit on YouTube and was like, why am I going to put out as much content if people aren't watching? But I think you have to be able to forgive yourself if you need a break, if you need to adapt and just change. And I think that this whole situation is still going on. And so, emotionally, we're all just kind of day by day, So.
Yeah. No, for sure. Okay, so I want to bring it back a little bit to, and by the way, if you guys are just joining, this is Courtney from Common Tags. You guys probably all know her because she's a rock star. And this is where you can find her on YouTube and on Instagram, right? You have the same handle, I think, for both.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Just wanted to make, I was like, yeah.
I'm trying to read and listen, and this is why lives are so hard.
I know, they are so hard. And I'm sorry, guys. Like, I'm kind of keep track of oh, wait, another super sticker. Thank you, Maggie. You are amazing. Oh my goodness. And Rags to Riches, my friend Hope. Thank you so much.
Yeah. You are on the front lines, and it's great to support someone who is in the community and also putting themselves at risk every day. So really love your channel, and I'm glad you're here tonight.
Yes, I know. There's so many amazing people in this chat. I'm so excited.
Well, okay, so quick, Tiff and Hugo just left. Oh, no, they're here. Oh, Amber. So if you guys don't know, Amber is getting married this weekend. So send her a little DM, wish her, it's a socially distanced small wedding, but she's got a lot on her plate, and I'm just so excited for her.
Amber, I can't believe you're even here right now. I thought you had this crazy to-do list, you said. Oh, but thanks for being here. I know, amazing people in this chat. You guys are all awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to be able to talk to you too and mine some knowledge and tips from you in regards to, let's talk very specifically about how can we do things. Are there tricks that you have? Do you use any apps, or do you have any timers that you set throughout the day to meet your goals? Even though the goals may fluctuate from day to day. Before you talk though, Vero.
Vero.
I never know how to say the last part of your YouTube, but Vero, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker. You are amazing. But yeah, do you have any hacks or tips for what you do on the daily to stay motivated? Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. I'm going to shout this one out too.
I know. Well, Paula, I know she watches my vlog channel, because anyone that watches my vlog channel loyally knows I call my dog Boo all the time, and people make fun of it. But yeah, she's outside. I gave her a really big bone. Mention on that. Hopefully she will hang out there. That's super sweet. Thanks, Paula. And this organization, I was trying to think, I was like, oh, should I go with an organization that directly is related to some of our current events? But I feel like there's a lot of not-for-profits that are impacted in a negative financial way because so many people are redirecting their dollars to other organizations. And although there are so many good organizations right now, I feel like, the Harmony Project is probably still needing things. Kids more than ever probably need an outlet, a center, an organization that's helping them. So you guys are really doing, I don't know. It's just, it's super sweet.
Amazing. Yes, this is amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I already forgot. Oh, so yes. So I was watching your video because I was trying to see okay, what do we have in common? And I think one of the first things you said is probably my number one tip to anyone, and it's free. And it's one of your main tips too, which is put your phone on do not disturb, don't get on Instagram. The change that I made, I realized I was spending about 8 to 10 hours a week on Instagram. And you can, if you have an iPhone, and I think most phones will tell you how much time you spent per week on a specific application. And I was like 8 to 10 hours a day, or sorry, a week. That's a whole day off for me that I could be spending with friends when we can not socially distance, with my dog, going on little road trips. And it really hit me of, you know, what am I getting from Instagram? Now, I know there's a lot of people that like Instagram, and like, I love connecting with people on Instagram, but I had to make a decision of what am I getting in return, and where is that peace of mind, and where is that work-life balance? So when you brought that up, it really hit home of that's probably the easiest way to be more productive, whether it's for a day that you want to set a goal or every day. Just have some goals around spending time on Instagram, because I think although there's good information, it can eat up a lot of your time. And then you go in this rabbit hole and it's 2 hours later. What could you have done in that 2 hours? So.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I like right now, I think it's a little bit different for me because I did like start a Facebook group for, you know, this listing challenge that we're doing. And I feel like I have to kind of check different things. And then like I had like a technology snafu with just like, I was trying to start an email list to like get emails out to people. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. So there's a lot of just like, I don't know. But, and it's still an ongoing thing. So I'm getting messages from people who are like, I'm still not getting the emails, or, you know, people asking questions in the Facebook group. So I feel very like pulled, and I feel very like responsible for needing to respond to some of those things, which is totally fine because I knew that going in, right? But generally speaking, the majority of the notifications showing up on your phone when you are trying to photograph, or when you're trying to list, or when you're trying to whatever, they're not like a necessity at that moment. Like you don't have to tend to it at that time. And I think too, like what you were saying about the idea of, I don't know about you, but sometimes like for me, there can be something that I see on Instagram or something that I see on YouTube that just really like ruins my mood, or just like sets me off in a way where like it's just really hard to be productive in that moment.
Like what's an example? Because I feel like we probably are the same.
Yeah, like I do feel like, I think a lot of this is my Asian upbringing. Like I feel like it's hard for me not to compare myself to other people. It really is something that I struggle with. And so sometimes I will see some of these like package stacks and I'm like, well, that's cool. Like you sold 48 things and I like have 2 things that I'm going to send out the door. And one of them was $5. Like, and then it just, you know, I go down this rabbit hole of like, what is everyone else doing? Like, what am I doing wrong? And, you know, it's just, I lose a lot of not just valuable time, but like valuable headspace, or just like, what's the word? Like sanity, you know?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. For me, that's one thing. What about you? And I'm going to shout out Kendra really quick. Kendra also donated $10. Thank you so much, Kendra. You're amazing.
Thank you, Kendra. That's sweet.
So sweet.
And she loves the Facebook group. Yeah. And I think, you know, with YouTube, I think there's a certain responsibility if you take on a project. That's work, and that's fair, and you've committed to that. I think just, you know, yes, it's, the comparison thing is absolutely probably the most negative. And I try to be sensitive. I've never felt good. I mean, I'm excited for other people when they do really well. Like when someone has a sale and then they're super excited that the sale went really well. And they're like, yes, here are my packages. That's super exciting. You know, the comparison thing is there's so many different factors that go into it. You don't know what's behind those packages. They could all be $5 sales. And you just don't know. And it gives you the perspective that they're all $40 sales and you're feeling terrible. But also you don't know what kind of help they have. You know, someone could have employees. They could have a family member. They could be, my biggest thing is just being transparent on YouTube. And I'm not saying everyone has to about numbers, but one of the big things that I have done on my channel, and you do, and I think, you know, a lot of the people that we watch, being transparent about numbers makes a huge difference for a new reseller to understand the business model. And so if I bought 4 things out of Marshall's a couple days ago, which I never do retail arbitrage. And I'm sitting there going, if I just said that these sold for $60, people are going to go, oh, she paid, you know, $8 for those. That's a great return. But I did not pay $8. I paid retail arbitrage price.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm not transparent about that, then someone thinks that, I'm doing better than what I really am. So I think that comparison is, for most people, probably pretty brutal. And it's, I was just thinking about it the other day. I hit 2 years and I'm like, wow, how much I have come in 2 years. But then I'm still looking at people who've been doing this for 10 years, trying to compare myself to them, going, how is that fair for me or them?
Yeah.
Because they're doing awesome. They're killing it. Mm-hmm. We're not different places, or we are in different places. We're not in the same place. So, it's one of those types of things, but it can be good and motivating, because I've heard a lot of people say that. And I think I said that in the beginning, was it can be motivating to see the package piles and to see the pickups. But at the end of the day, I could have a really amazing thrift haul sitting right here. And I go onto Instagram and someone has all these brands that I've never found. And I'm like instantly less excited about the thrift haul. And I'm like, what? I just found all this amazing stuff 2 seconds ago. I was stoked. And now I'm feeling like it's not good enough, which is weird.
Oh, Amber.
Amber
said, wait, hold on. Okay. Thanks for the wedding well wishes. Can't wait to get back to consistency on YouTube and reselling next week. Girl, planning a wedding, whether it's in the time of COVID or not, is a full-time job. So I get it. I get that you are busy. So the fact that, YouTube and reselling had to kind of take a backseat, that is okay. And $4.99 from Lori Owens. Thank you so much. She said thanks to both for all you do for the reselling community, especially the newbies. Yeah, that is such a it's a big up and coming group of people, like people who are brand new to reselling. And I think there is a lot of information out there with the mindset of people who have been doing it full time for a really long time. And it can be kind of overwhelming for people who are brand new to it. So I do appreciate that transparency, especially on your channel too. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think also I know some people say, do you think it's becoming oversaturated with the amount of resellers? And I don't know your thoughts on it, but for me, there's always going to be a cycle of people coming in and going, leaving. And we might have some people who lose a job and think, okay, I'm going to start selling some stuff out of my home. And then they turn to YouTube and they want to join the game. I personally buy almost 80% of my stuff on eBay or Poshmark. I just bought this mug on Mercari because I had a credit. It's, oh my gosh. Do you watch it? I love it. So do you watch Tanya, Thrifty Treasures?
Who was it?
Tanya, her channel name is.
No, I don't think so. Okay, I'm going to have to look her up.
She's in Texas. She's got a big channel and she does a lot of fun, yard sale ride-alongs. And, that's just the background noise that I love listening to. And so she posted this on Instagram, which I'm not on Instagram that much, but it just happened to pop up. And I was like, I need that in my life. Yeah. And so I had a $10 Mercari credit, but I have become a loyal secondhand buyer on these platforms. And I wasn't using them before I became a reseller. So I think with people joining as a seller, they also are joining as buyers. And and also people are going to leave because it's hard work. It's not an easy job. So
yeah, for sure. And I don't know, I like fashion. I'm not super passionate about fashion. I feel like I used to watch runway shows here and there. I like it, but I'm not a slave to it by any means. But I still find the whole reselling business fascinating. And I think that's the only reason I'm still here, because like you said, it is hard work. It's not a quick dollar. It's not, the easiest way to make a living. But definitely, a lot of people will come and go, but the ones who stay, it's because they really love it. So, yeah. What arenas in your reselling business do you feel are the most difficult to be consistent in? And how do you kind of combat that?
Yeah, so I think, and I don't know if you want to give this shout out if you see it.
Yes, I just saw that. I don't know how to, Rara or Rara, I might be saying that wrong, but oh my goodness. Okay, so look me up. 14-year-old? Holy cow, that's amazing. There are some people that I've seen on Instagram who are super young and they're killing it. And I'm like, what? It's really cool. I have a girl at my church actually, and she'll DM me every once in a while. She'll be like, how do I sell this? Or I just sold this. And I'm like, how old? I think she's 14 too. And it's so cool to see these young kids do something that is really cool. And it's going to make them more money than they would make at McDonald's or something too.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Rara, if that's how you say it. That's very sweet of you.
That's sweet.
Just you have such a good, you have always had a really good audience of people, like with your choir when you were raising money.
Yeah.
Which, what happened with that? I don't know if I got the update. Is it postponed or?
So they did an entirely virtual thing. It was like the first time trying it. So like our show, they just showed it virtually. And like you still had to pay to attend this thing virtually, which I mean, I get it. And you had to pay a lot less. And I'm sure they, not that I don't think they like lost money necessarily, but I mean, I'm sure that they made a lot less money too, because they obviously couldn't charge kids the same amount. But we did still go. But yeah, it was so sad. But we raised a lot of good money for it. And I mean, it's like we have that money in the program and stuff now too. I think we have to use like the majority of it to even send the kids to the online version of the festival. But
well, it was a lot of fun. You do have a good audience.
Thank you so much.
I can't even remember what you just asked.
Oh, we were talking about what parts of your reselling business do you find it hard to be consistent in? And what do you do to combat that?
Yeah, I would say my number one is packaging. Like I'm very good and very disciplined about bringing stuff in. And right now my routine is I'm about a week ahead on thrift hauls. My dog's drinking water, so if you hear her in the background, anyway. After that giant bone that I gave her. So I am really good about kind of putting my stuff after a thrifting trip, put it aside. Once I have the space upstairs, I go and grab it. I process everything. You know, I've got it steamed, washed, measured, photographed, but then it goes to a pile of death. And if, people use death pile or money pile. I say right now, and I used to have a security pile. I'm trying to build a security pile right now, and I do have one in my shed, fortunately, because things might close down again for us. But my death pile, true one, is the place between I've already photographed and listed, and now it just goes to sit. And I hate packaging. So I did try and hire someone part-time locally for a couple months. Unfortunately, as a part-time gig working from our house, it's hard. It's not the most enjoyable. It's very monotonous. And so it didn't work out. It led me to, I used to manage a lot of people. I used to have multiple teams, and that's not my favorite thing. I got out of managing teams of people for a reason. And so I feel like if I'm going to go into the getting employees again, I'm going to go all in and get like 5 at one time. And then we're going to deal with a whole bunch of processing so I can just, thrift all day. But I feel like, I'm way, way, way out from actually pulling the trigger on something like that. So packaging for me these days, I've got a guest room. And when it gets full of totes that are stuff that, I'm like, okay, I need to spend a whole day. And I think you talk about batch work. And I know you're talking about batch work with someone this week.
With Mogi tomorrow, yeah.
So I think batch work is really crucial for me because then I get in the headspace of it's not just what I wake up to do or what I feel like doing. It's I'm going in today and I've got to spend my day packaging. And it really does help kind of expedite a lot of processing when you do things in bulk.
So when you were saying that you felt like you lacked consistency in packaging, I thought you meant like when someone buys something and you have to like ship it out. And I was like, really? But you're talking about like packaging it up for inventory.
Okay.
Yes. So do you find often that like something sells and you have to go digging for it in your pile of debt?
Well, you know how much wasted time?
I have the same issue.
Yeah. And so then, but I mean, sometimes things sell very quickly and you're never going to have things processed. And I've talked to people and I'm like, okay, I should get in the routine where some people, they wash and then they take the stuff up, wherever their photo station is. And they do everything in kind of in one process. Again, I'm much better if I'm like doing all tops and I'm photographing all tops versus having to get a different hanger or mannequin. So I feel like, although it might be good for me to just package something right after I photograph it, I still need to try it. I really, that's probably something I need to be motivated to try is just give it a week of taking photos and packaging as I go and see how that works out because I feel like it would create a lot less stress for me if I could just figure that out.
Yeah.
But we're all imperfect. So what's yours?
I have the same issue. And part of the reason right now is I have had, as a very recent, just a huge influx of inventory. and not enough space to put all of that inventory in. So I feel like I've been, doing a lot of photographing and stuff, and like there's no more space in my bins, but just still all this clothes. So I'm like, but even before that was an issue, like even before I was in this, situation of like having too much inventory, that was still an issue of mine. Like I would be really excited about, the photographing part, and then it would sit there and things would sell. And I'm like, and my husband was like, do you want me to do your inventory? And I'm like, don't talk to me. Like, I think that's always been my struggle. And then I think too, like, I think with like reselling, I'm not like selling on the same scale that, you are either. So it's not like that crazy. Like today I had to package up like, well, today's Monday, but I think I had like 8 things or something. So that seemed like a lot to me. I feel like generally it's like 2-3 things, maybe if I'm lucky. Right. But like, I feel like it's just not getting things tidied up fast enough. And then it's just like in everyone's way. It's in my way. I can't find things in a timely manner. And like you said, it's a huge waste of time, and it's time that you should be using to do other things.
I feel like it's a place that I know I can optimize. It's just, I feel like I was getting to a really good place, and then COVID hit. I had almost no death pile. I was really like, I was coming home when you say like, oh, you're coming home and you have a thrift haul and you're like, almost all of this is listed. It's because I was getting in this process of, I was only going out to thrift if I had that stuff already dealt with. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't mean it was completely processed. It doesn't mean it was completely into, so I think I'll get back into that place. Right now, I'm still in survival mode. And I think we need to not beat ourselves up for just trying to survive. Yeah. And if that means that you're kind of slacking, like, oh, I wanted to do this, or I want to do more of this. Mm-hmm. It's like, if you're getting your shipping out on time and you're getting some stuff listed each week, pat yourself on the back, because it's a little wacky right now. And I think we just all need to give ourselves a little bit of, grace. So
for sure. I wanted to shout out this one comment. I just thought it was so sweet. Ashley B said, as a newbie to reselling, I just want to personally thank you all. You guys keep me inspired, even on my darkest days, to keep pushing through and try my best. And your information has helped so much. Ashley, that was so incredibly sweet. And I think, I'm kind of speaking on your behalf, Courtney, but I feel like for myself, like part of the reason why I got into YouTube was just really to kind of like share my journey. And I felt like there wasn't a lot out there from the perspective of a part-time seller too. And so I just wanted to show some people what that could look like. And, knowing full well that like my sales will not look the same as other people because of the fact that I'm part-time and further, whatever, a lot of others, reasons why too. But I feel like that's, a lot of why you do what you do too, is because you want to share your journey, and you have such helpful videos. Like you have so much information packed into them, and people find a lot of value from that stuff. So Ashley, that means a lot, because sometimes people get mad at me for not knowing everything. And so
and I will say, I'm not part-time anymore, but when I started, and I think most people start part-time, and that's, Amber was one of the first people I watched where I was like, oh, she's selling something for $5 and she's not hiding it, and she's not feeling down about it. And I felt like that was so relatable for me as a part-time person, because I would watch these other people, and although it was informational and I was getting stuff from them, it was like, you just made $2,000 in one day. And that is so discouraging for me, who's like, I just got 2 sales in one day, And so I think someone like Amber or someone like you, although I'm not part-time, I find so much value. And in fact, there's one of my new favorite people that I've just been binge watching all of her videos is Carmen Avery. I don't know if
I love Carmen. Yeah.
She's, I just love her personality. I like what she picks up. I like her box openings and stuff. But I think we need more of that on YouTube, because I think there is a little bit of a false reseller life that can be portrayed, and it works for some and it's real for some, but it's not real for most. Most of us are making a lot of mistakes, picking up a lot of bad buys, and I think people need to see that we're human, and that's how it is. So it does mean a lot.
Sure. So Ashley, I really thank you for that comment. And that's again one of the reasons why I was drawn to you so early on when you started your YouTube channel, because I was like, this girl gets it. Like, she's real,
Making every mistake. Yeah.
And I mean, some people will like come down on you for like having the audacity to make a mistake and then like document it and talk about it. And it's like, you can be perfect. Like that's totally fine. Like I haven't figured that out yet.
Some people want perfect because they want the image that that's what they can achieve. And then there's nothing wrong with that. I just, again, it's the transparency that works for me. That's who I watch. That's who I give my time to, because that's in a sense what people are doing. They're giving you time. And
that's so true.
If there's lacking certain aspects, it's, you know, I don't know, false hope, I guess. But
yeah. Okay, well, let's move on to a few more of the questions that people from Instagram wanted to ask. So Marissa's Market, I thought this was a really good question too, because I feel like your inventory system, it seems like it's flawless. I think I watched one video of yours once when you were like, I have to upend my entire, like I have to look inside every single bin because I lost something. Like, I don't know where it is. I feel like that's only happened to you once, though. I'm sure it's happened more, but I'm sure it's happened more. But I feel like you, for the most part, have your stuff together. But she asked, how to keep track of inventory that you send to consignment or that you're going to donate, just how to keep track of your inventory in general. Talk us through your system.
Yeah, well, I'm speaking from, I live in a relatively small house, but I do have more space than my last San Francisco apartment. So I feel like I'm swimming in space, but I did get a shed, a tough shed that holds most of my inventory, all my bins, it's got racks, and that's pretty seamless. Spreadsheets, I would say I came from a spreadsheet world, a corporate world. And so that was a very comfortable place for me to live in. So just keeping track of the basics of what the item is, what bin it is, you know, just super basic. I know a lot of people can do very complex things with spreadsheets, but for the most part, it's just what is the item, where can you find it? And you can search on your spreadsheet. But I would say that as far as the piles, I have a lot of piles, and that's kind of my guest room. You know, like if someone goes in my guest room and it's not a day after me packaging and organizing it, they're probably like, this girl is a hoarder, because there's just piles everywhere. And there are days where I'll walk into my house and I'm like, I have a pile over here, and this is my Goodwill pile because I'm going to go to Goodwill tomorrow and I need to donate. That's my recent thrift haul. I've got another thrift haul up there. I just feel like I've got piles everywhere. And I think as long as it makes sense to you, who cares? It's not, and that's the other thing about reselling. It's not pretty for me. And I will never be able to give off a pretty image of reselling because it's like, it's kind of a hot mess most of the time, you know, but
no. Oh man. I feel so bad for my family because there's literally clothes. We have a pretty big house. We moved not too long ago. And my husband was like, why do we have all this room if like we can't even enjoy them? I mean, okay, that makes it sound like it's much worse than it is. And again, it's because of this like one-off opportunity that I had as a recent. But there's literally, like you said, piles everywhere, but they're organized piles. Like I know what's happening in each of those piles. I know like when those things need to get listed and what things need to get hauled, like all that kind of stuff. But I hear you. So what kinds of things do you find it helpful or necessary to track on your spreadsheet? Because I know you said you don't like to go like super in depth. I feel like just from watching your haul videos, you go much more in depth than I do, but what kinds of things are you tracking?
We've talked about that. I've actually scaled back. I mean, I started doing haul videos again for the first time in months because I don't like to make YouTube content for clicks. I really don't, you know. So if I'm not watching a certain type of video, then I don't want to make it. And I went a whole period of time where I stopped watching haul videos and then I didn't want to make them. But now I'm back to them and I scaled back. So what I used to do was I would come home from my thrift day and I would have, if I went to the bins, I might have 100 items or, you know, a full day at the thrift store is 50 items or something. And I would sit down and I would take each item and I'd plug it into my spreadsheet and I'd put, you know, all the details, how much I paid, what the thrift trip was. So it was all in order. And those thrift hauls were very organized because I was just going off the spreadsheet. And I would put in what I was listing it for, but then also what I expected to get, you know, with offers and stuff. And so I would have an estimate of like, okay, this is how much I spent. This is how much I expect to make. And I found this to be really helpful. But in the last few thrift hauls, I've just kind of made it simpler. I've really scaled back on YouTube of I want it to be easy and I want it to be fun and I don't want to overthink it. And if I can answer questions in the comments, if I can, you know, still offer some brand little tips here and there, but my thrift hauls have scaled way back. So same with the spreadsheets. My first spreadsheet was super complex and it had all these pivot tables coming off of it. And I had all these graphs and I was like in heaven, you know, yes, this is what I need. And then real life kicked in, and I'm like, what, I'm trying to sit there and just keep going. And so I really scaled back. I actually have, I don't think this will kick me off. I have right now what the item is. So brief description, starting with the brand, and then just like a very brief, 4 to 5 words, the size, the item number. So what bin it's in, what I paid, what I'm listing it for, what I think is an acceptable price. And then what's kind of my get rid of price. I don't think I've ever shared my spreadsheet. I know people have asked for it, but it's pretty basic. I do have some charts and some graphs coming off of it. Like I still love spreadsheets and all that, but it's scaled back. And I know there are a lot of people that like to share and talk about that on YouTube. For the most part, I think it's over a lot of people. It's not necessary. It's like, if you really love the analytics and the data, then have at it. I think it can be really helpful. I know I've done some just tear downs of my spreadsheet of trying to figure out what brands are selling. And I know Lori Tata just did a video of some brands that she was surprised weren't selling as well for her. And I think it's good if you like that stuff to sort through, but for the most part, it's just not necessary. Keeping track of things is necessary for tax purposes and but for the most part, I'm pretty simple these days. But
and I think that brings up such a great point of, again, like having systems in place, but having the flexibility, whether it's as you scale up or as you decide to invest your energy in different ways, like having the flexibility to say, this can go or this can change. I think that's really important, because I think people do kind of get stuck with their systems and they're like, but I have to keep doing this. And like, if I don't, then, things are going to get messed up. And I don't know. So I like that as you continue to grow, you're like, I can let go of certain things and my business is still going to be okay. So figuring out what you need to do. I
have these glares over here, and I don't have any curtains on my windows. So it's like, that's actually filming YouTube is one of the hardest things, because I'm always working with natural light. And I'm just like, and sometimes I film and it's like, I can't show this because there's this glare like right on my eyeball. This is horrific.
I think it makes you look angelic. It's like, the heavens are like beaming down on you. I think it looks really good. So, okay. So another person had a question. I don't know if I'm saying this right either, but Almasena1622. This person said, I'm selling about $1,000 per month and I really want to quit my full-time job. Thoughts?
Am I starting, or you're not full-time, I guess, but have you thought about going full-time?
I know I get asked that a lot. I will say this. I get asked that a lot. And when I get asked that, I'm like, I think though, to be honest, and I feel like this could be a video by itself and it would have nothing to do with reselling, but I feel like with kind of the resurgence of the BLM movement, I feel like I'm supposed to be in the schools. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, especially for my students of color, but especially for my Black students, like I just feel like having a safe space at school for them is really important. And so I feel much more convicted that that's where I belong, which I feel like it's going to be such a switch, because I'm so like in reseller mode right now. And I don't know what the school year is going to look like come fall, because nobody has any idea. But I feel like that has led me to like stop even playing around with the idea of going full time, because I'm like, I am where I need to be, so.
You love what you do. And I mean, the impact that teachers make. My oldest sister is a 5th grade teacher. And, I mean, it's a lifetime plan for her. And I mean, my memory of teachers is especially the teachers and I don't want to say like the non-boring teachers, but the teachers who are teaching something that is not like a book, and, kids might not be excited about that subject, but the teachers who are helping students find a way with life, because I feel like that's some of the arts and stuff like that. I would say I obviously get asked about going full-time, or I get comments of people wanting to go full-time. And I would say there's a few things to keep in mind. Finances is one. I pay all my bills. I don't have anyone helping, just me and a very dependent dog. And, I don't want to run the risk of getting to a place where I'm like, so stressed that I need to actually go get a job. I am not close to any city. So for me, I went full time because I had a 3-hour commute each day around, total.
That is insane.
It's hard. And a lot of people do it. And I'm not unique in that, but it was eating away at my soul. And I was new to the area and I wasn't able to meet friends. I would get home at like 7:00 at night. I'd make dinner and then I'd be tired and I would do reselling. That's how I got started reselling. And I couldn't meet anyone. And so for me, it was like, how quickly can I drop this 3-hour commute? And I can get a job remote. A lot of tech companies, which is what I did in San Francisco, a lot of them, they have remote jobs, especially these days. But to be honest, I think that it gives me motivation to just keep going and keep exploring and find that work-life balance, which is crucial. Have a plan in place. So even if you do have another paycheck in your household, that gives some cushion, but your paycheck is still valuable no matter where you work. And so I would say if there's some cushion, that if it really took a dive and, everything, all reselling, like, I hate to even say that this is a possibility, but like, what if your main platform just went bankrupt?
Yeah.
Non-existent one day and you just lost all of that revenue. If you don't have multiple streams of revenue, then you might be in a tricky position. So, but also think of things like I had a 401k. I still have a 401k, but I just have to like put into it. No one matches it. That's depressing. Health insurance, I pay for my health insurance and it's really discouraging because I feel like I never go to the doctor, but that's important, but that's a cost. Yeah. So I think it's just really coming up with a plan. What works for me and is important for me, like, might not be the same for you, but I did go full-time too soon, in my opinion. I had some savings.
Oh, interesting.
I think I could have had more, but it was like sanity that I was after. So I think still to this day, I would love to be more comfortable, but I'm paying my bills. I'm, putting in my 401k. I've got my health insurance. I also have a flag hanging out right here. So, and I think that scaling, understanding that you're probably not going to go from 0 to 60 overnight. So if someone is sitting there going, I just made $10,000 this month, it's like, okay, that's great. Yeah. If you have social media, which a lot of people, when you see them, they have social media. I know someone, I think at one point in the comments said, does your YouTube channel help your reselling? Absolutely. I don't know about you, but having a social media following definitely helps your reselling business. But it also takes time away from your reselling business. So I think it goes hand in hand. But I think that it's just come up with a plan, have some projections. For me, going full time, I knew I was going to add eBay, and that's my main platform right now. I mean, Poshmark is almost past the side for me. YouTube, I was like, okay, I'm going to give this 6 months. If I can get it monetized, that'd be great. Just have multiple streams is my biggest suggestion. So,
yeah, I think that's huge. And I think most people understand that for full-time sellers, that's what's happening. Like they're not just making money from, reselling, but it's also other streams of income, like you said, whether it's YouTube, whether it's affiliate marketing. I imagine, I don't know. I don't feel like I know anyone who really resells full-time and that's like all they do and they're not on social media. Cause like, how would I know about them? Right. I guess.
I met a lot of them at eBay Open. I would say
really?
The biggest sellers are not on social media and you don't know of them, but they are killing it. Yeah. They're focused.
That's true. Yeah.
So,
that's true.
It goes back to Instagram or YouTube. I mean, I only check my YouTube comments once or twice a week. I respond to them once or twice a week. I just don't have it in me to constantly be checking. Instagram, it's like all the social media takes time. And so if you eliminate that, because you don't need that to be successful with reselling. But it can help in certain ways if you want it to. So
yeah, I remember, like it, because if you're not spending that time reselling and you're investing it in social media, it could be an opportunity for that to become another source of income, but you're taking away from the reselling piece of it. So like you were saying, there are some resellers out there who are killing it and like they're just laser focused on their reselling business. I remember, I think it was in like a YouTube video of Harry Tornadoes, and he was talking about how, this 1 month, like he actually made more from like YouTube than he did from reselling. And just how crazy it was that things had changed in that way. So again, it was like, and he admitted, like, I'm not putting a lot of time into my reselling business right now. And I have kind of pivoted to put more energy into YouTube. And that's, I think, the main reason why I was able to make more money there. But it's just like understanding what is the best investment of your time. And if, you know, like you said you're going to give yourself 6 months for YouTube, and if it doesn't take off, like, I'm done. I gave it a good old college try or whatever.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's a hard reality. And I think it's one of the most disappointing things about social media is there's a lot of people that want to be like, they want to have the YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
I have always been very hesitant, and I have almost always struggled at having one. I like to be helpful. I like to be a different voice. I like to share my experience, but I don't want the attention. Like, I almost never go to the bins anymore because I can't work anymore.
Yeah.
I know you probably share the same thing, but it's great to meet people, but you are there to work, and it's overwhelming, I think, for me. So that's not a direction. Like, I know some people, they're full-time resellers who really take off with their YouTube channel, and then their main income is, and it's not to say they don't have good, helpful tips or they can't offer some things, but I would like to have my reselling business be my main thing, and have YouTube just be the side hustle. And that's
I'm sure your time, where you spend your time, reflects that. Like, you're putting your priorities in reselling. And like you said, with YouTube, you've kind of scaled back a little bit in terms of just like, so that makes sense.
I've scaled back in like trying so hard. I think you get so much pressure. It's the comparison game, right? You see someone, it's like, oh, I could have so many more Instagram followers. Well, maybe if I did an Instagram post more often, but I don't, because I don't enjoy it. So why am I going to try and make something work when that's not what I enjoy?
Yeah.
And also, if you do enjoy something, I just met someone the other day. I'm sure you get this a lot, probably too, where you'll meet someone and they're like, I want a YouTube channel. I started one. I've got 10 subscribers and I have these 3 videos. Can you check them out?
Yeah.
And that's actually something I'm doing as a side project right now, is some marketing work for some people locally that's not related to reselling. And I love that. I love the data. I love the branding and all of that. But there was another person who was like, oh, do you have any tips? Can you watch this? And I'm like, here's this person that they really, really, really want it, but the direction they're going is going to be so hard to build off of. And they're spending hours and hours editing, and they love that. But it's just a hard reality that maybe YouTube isn't up for everyone.
Yeah.
And it's, you talk about consistency. You said the other day, like, when you list more, you sell more, I think is some shortened version of that. It's the same thing with YouTube for some people at some points. Like, at the end of the day, if people don't want to watch you so I set a 6-month goal. And I also think, like, even Mercari, I'm testing right now and I'm doing terribly at it because I'm so hyper focused on my other platforms that I'm like, I'm giving it a very low chance. So am I really ever going to be successful with it if I don't give it my all?
Yeah.
But it just, Lori joined. Hey, Lori. But I think going full time, I think figuring out what you like to do. If someone only likes to thrift and they don't like the actual work behind the scenes, it'll be a hard job because there's more time behind the scenes doing the processing of stuff. But
no, I think that's great advice. And I think, like, a lot of people will live with regret if they just simply don't try something because they're like, well, maybe it won't amount to anything, So I think it is like, like, go for it, like, why not? But, like, go for it knowing the risks that you're taking and understanding that, like, everyone is not going to have the same outcomes. Like, it just depends on so many different things. So I think that that's really, it's really beneficial to know. Okay, somebody asked if we were going to do a Q&A. I wanted this to be an hour, and we're at an hour and 4 minutes. So maybe we could do some rapid fire Q&A if anyone wants to ask some questions. You can throw them in the chat right now while we are allowing for those to come in. Just really quickly, Courtney, someone had asked on Instagram, it was Mermaid Trove Clothing. That's an awesome handle. And they said, how do you maintain a work-life balance while staying consistent as a reseller? You've talked about this a little bit already, but do you have any, like, further thoughts on that?
Instagram, delete it. Honestly, that was the best thing I ever did. And even with YouTube, it's like I post videos and it takes me a week before I get to comments, and I feel guilt. I felt there was so much guilt that I wasn't being as responsive as quickly as possible. But at the end of the day, you get to a place where it gets to be too much, and it takes over your mind, it takes over your business, it takes over everything. And so for me, it's just having boundaries. But also, again, if you're trying to do so much, you're probably going to be pretty mediocre at so many things.
Yes. Yeah.
So for me, I'm kind of trying Mercari right now, but I'm failing miserably because I feel like I've got enough on my plate. And so, do I really need it? I know some people love it, but it's all balance. So, but I would say, and Instagram is a great space. And I know that before I had a YouTube channel, I made some great connections with other resellers, and I didn't know any other resellers. And it was like, oh my gosh, I have a reseller friend. I was so excited, It can be a great space, but it can take over. And so, kicking that habit or having boundaries with that is probably the most crucial for me. So,
And I think that plays into the consistency idea too, like even to build in an hour where this is going to be my social media time. I have to respond to as many comments as I can here, to build that into your schedule so that it's not eating away on a daily basis when you should be doing other things, but you've allotted for it, I need to be better about that for sure. Okay, so Paula asked, and we'll try to do these rapid fire because like I said, I want to respect your time, but Paula asked if you could only sell on one platform, which one would it be and why? I feel like I know what you're going to say, but
what am I going to say?
eBay.
Yeah. Hands down.
Yeah.
It's a business seller platform. They cater to business sellers. I haven't met another platform that makes it easy. So yeah, hands down.
Awesome. All right. Tori asks, best resellers to follow on YouTube.
I mean, Becky, but you guys are already following her. Lori's in the chat. She's one of my favorites and friend. Amber Resells is obviously one of my friends. A lot of Josh. I know you and I both are friends with him.
There's not a lot of Korean people out there, so we got to support each other. Me and Josh have a kinship. Yeah.
I'm really digging Carmen Avery. I know Rags to Riches is in here, I believe. She's got a really good channel. And yeah, I think that's the other thing is when you have a YouTube channel, all of a sudden not everyone, but you start getting like a lot of outreach, and I don't know how you manage it, but I can't manage all of the communication. And so I just don't have that many conversations because I'm not on Instagram as much. Yeah. So like Amber has my cell number, and we actually text, and we'll send each other videos directly. But and Lori does as well. But for the most part, there's so many good YouTube content creators out there for reselling. I feel overwhelmed to keep up with it all. So I do try and watch and support channels with very low views just to like, if I can give a shout out to someone, because I think it's something that I always wanted and I never got. And I was like, oh, okay, if I can help anyone get any subscribers and they're under 1,000, like that's what I always wanted. And when people say that they appreciate it, it makes my whole day. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Cause it's a unique position that some people are in, that like, they literally mention that one channel once and then their, subscriber count spikes because of you. So that is a really cool way to use your positioning. Okay, Kate, I think it's Katie. Katie asks, how many active listings do you guys have on Poshmark? How many do you have?
I think Poshmark, I'm at like a little over 1,200. And I think on eBay, I'm a little less than 1,200. So basically about 1,200 on both.
It's pretty good. It's pretty beastly. I think I am like a little over 800 right now, which feels pretty ridiculous, but
it's insane what you do part-time. I just can't even.
Well, I mean, it helps, to have the summers off. Like it's a good chunk of time to, okay. I'm trying to see. I don't really feel, you guys, I probably have missed. Oh wait. Okay. I see some questions now. So some Lori said, Rags to Riches, are you listing? That's not a question for us, but that's a question for Hope.
Listing in the chat right now?
Yeah, I know. Okay, Courtney asked, just getting started and I have a lot of low-end items from my family. Should I list it all in my closet? Shoes, household, teaching items, clothes galore. What are your thoughts on this?
I stopped listing anything that I can't even list for 15 on Poshmark because the fees just go astronomical. I mean, if you sell something with a $2.95 fee for, $6, I mean, you basically gave it away for free. So I don't do any low. I mean, I don't mind if I got a lot of stuff free in the last few months. And let me tell you, if something sells for $10 and I had no cost and all it was me taking some photos and putting in some storage, that has probably been the best thing that's come out of the last few months. Is like, I love free stuff. I just picked up a few bags for my sisters and I just want to rip into it because I'm like, it's going to be a whole bunch of $10 items and I'm so stoked because it's free and there's nothing better than that. There's very low risk. So I love the place to store. You have the place to store. If people don't, and if they really like just designer only or style only, that might not be the direction. But I say list it, and I'd say find a platform like Mercari or eBay where there are low fees. And list them there. Yeah. Awesome.
And I mean, Courtney, should I just list it all in my closet? Yeah, just list it all. And if you have the time and the ability, I would cross list some of the stuff. Like the teaching items, I think would go over really well on Mercari and eBay right now because a lot of families are talking about homeschooling. They're talking about not sending their kids back to school this fall, even if schools open up because of everything that's going on. So, staying on top of not just trends in clothing, but trends in what's popular or like what stuff is selling out right now due to everything that's happening. My sister-in-law, she gave Poshmark the good old college try, like for 2 months. She was like, I hate this. I was like, that's fine. But she's gotten really into selling on Facebook Marketplace. And she was at Aldi the other day and they had one last like little inflatable pool. And it was like, I think she said she bought it for like $20, $25. And they were selling on Facebook Marketplace for like $60, $70, $80 because everyone just, wants to be outside in some sort of pool. It makes me think of that Instagram post from Voyages of Verb where like her and Kevin were both in those little kiddie pools. But, everyone just wants a pool and they're willing to pay top dollar for it. So just paying attention to those trends. But I would get that teaching stuff listed if I were to be honest with you, like ASAP. Okay.
I don't typically list anything that I can't sell for $5 because, that's kind of, I think, my new low, but I'm not a style based seller. I don't care about style. I care more about listing. So
more mine. Yeah. All right. I think just a couple more here. Ashley asked, do you price the same item differently on different platforms? That's a really good question.
I saw, someone gave me some advice when I first started on eBay and they said they price things $5, which at the time I was like, what if it was $100 item versus a $20 item, $5, like percentage would make more sense to me. But basically they were saying they price things a little lower on eBay because the fees were a little lower and people weren't willing to spend that much. I think I did that for my first couple months on eBay. And then I was like, I don't like this. So I price everything the same and wherever it sells, I don't care. So,
and I'm assuming you do. Do you use a cross listing tool?
I had a not so great experience in communication with one recently. So I won't be able to recommend them or use them again, but there's obviously the other one. And so I'll probably try them. And I don't really need it, to be honest, because I feel like I got my cross listing down.
That's awesome.
The only thing it saves is when you're cross listing stuff that's older, stale stuff that you don't have the photos of. So like when I signed up for this one because I was starting Mercari and I was trying to list some of my older stuff. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I went in and paid for it myself and I was going to try it. And then it turned into kind of a nightmare with communication.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's okay. They can be helpful if they get people listings. So
yeah. Okay. I think there were 2 more questions and then we'll be done. Thank you so much for your time. Okay.
This is like we should have done like a happy hour on a Monday.
I know. Well, my husband's like, make sure this doesn't go to, but like I hear them. The kids are outside. They're having a grand old time. So I don't even think they'll notice. But D. Nicole Life in Moderation asked, how do sales taxes work on eBay? That's a wonderful question that I also don't really know the answer to. Do you have any insight on this?
I don't talk about taxes because my dad's a CPA and there's legality issues, even just talking about it. However, I will say that sales taxes specifically for the majority of states, if you Google what states does eBay collect sales tax for on your behalf, it should pull up a list.
Mm-hmm.
And I think every few months they were adding X amount of states. I don't know if they're compliant with all, or if even all states require it, but I know for California purposes, I was paying sales tax separately with my business until they took over collecting it on my behalf, and in California. So sales taxes are pretty easy on these platforms unless you're in a state where they're not collecting yet. So, and I don't know, I want to say last time I checked, it was like 35 states were taken care of, which means they're charging the buyer and they're submitting it to that state on your behalf, which means you don't have to do anything. But the best thing to do would be to just Google that or contact eBay. So
yeah. Does your dad do your taxes for you?
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
amazing.
This year was my first year as a full-time reseller.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't matter if you have someone doing your sales tax or your taxes for you. You have to put everything. You have to have your stuff in order. Like you just can't just, here's some receipts, go after it. No.
Yeah.
So I'll use. Do you use? Oh, why can I not think of it?
GoDaddy?
No. I'm gonna blank. Maybe because I don't log in often enough. And of course, every time you want to find an app, there's already like 50 million.
Yeah.
And you can't find it. It's the Self-Employed by QuickBooks.
Okay.
So,
I know.
that one is really great because it tracks my mileage for me. So anytime I get in my car, it just tracks my mileage. So then I just have to go in and swipe and see, like, is it personal or is it work?
That's awesome.
And so for me, mileage is a huge thing. I can't remember how many dollars it was a write-off for mileage, but I mean, keeping track of things can really help. And I know Lori's in the chat. Her husband's a CPA. And I know,
oh my gosh,
someone that does your taxes, it's still kind of a nightmare. So,
yeah.
Oh, Jody. Yeah. Jody and Text Factor Tracy are on it. Yeah. QuickBooks. So highly recommend that app if you can afford. I think it's like $10 a month. It's super cheap.
Awesome. Also, I don't know why I said GoDaddy. I think that's like the website site. I think. I don't know what I don't know what I was thinking about. Why GoDaddy came to my mind. I'm like trying to get into my brain. Okay, here is the last question of the night. If I did not get to your question, I am so sorry. But this comes from Molly, and she asks, do you think that back to school clothes will not sell well this year? And I'm assuming she's asking because of everything going on.
You kind of talked about this, that you think that on one of your videos that you think people will still naturally just want to buy stuff for the season. Like it kind of goes into fall. So people I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't predict anything at this point.
Yep. Yeah. It really has just been like the most upside down year in terms of like everything that everyone knew about everything just got turned upside down. Like it. And when, I'll have students ask me like, do you think we're going to have acapella this year? And I'm like, I'm not even going to tell you my speculations because it doesn't matter what I think, it's like, we are at the mercy of this thing, and it is what it is. Bolo buddies, Courtney, are awesome. There are a lot of Courtneys involved in this summer listing challenge.
And we're probably all within like a 5 to 10 year age range because I feel like it was a popular name.
Oh, that's so funny.
At a period of time.
Yeah, that's so funny. But yes, Courtney, thank you so much for the super chat. You're awesome. Bolo Buddies has a great YouTube channel as well. Just if you want to learn about some really unique and interesting things to sell and what they'll sell for, definitely check out her channel. Courtney, as always, it is so fun. And I just feel like I learned so much from you, and we get to like do these things and hang out and just every time I watch your videos. So thank you so much for being such a light in this community and agreeing to join us for this. Do you have any closing thoughts just for, the resellers in the chat and maybe especially for those who are newer to the reselling game?
Yeah, I think the only tip I have for people is just keep listing and just keep trying. And, the best things that you're going to learn are probably through some experience. So, I mean, when I show haul videos, it's like the likelihood of, if I haven't found a brand in 2 years and I find it once, there's the likelihood of someone else finding it is pretty unlikely. So they can be fun background noise, but I would say just get out there and try things, and see what you like, see what works for you, and have fun doing it. So, Bolo Buddies, I'm 38, so we're pretty close. And that does not sound old. Then you're making me sound old.
I've gotten to the point where I don't really like remember how old I am. Like I have to like think back to like when was I bored? It's so sad. Yeah, no, and I think that you are ending this in like the perfect way possible. Like if it's not fun, again, when I think about, I think some people get into this profession because it's out of necessity. Like they can't, I don't, there's a lot of different reasons, but I think for the most part, a lot of people are doing this because they don't, they don't want to like have to work underneath management. Like they want to be their own boss. They want to make their own rules. And if you lose sight of that and you become, just everything is dictated by your business and you don't have that freedom to like enjoy life, then you're doing something wrong. Like that's really the only time that we can pinpoint and say like you're doing something wrong and you got to fix something. So I think that those are really wise words to end on. In case you guys are not following Courtney yet, which I don't know why you would not be following her, but Courtney is Common Tags. She has a wonderful YouTube channel. She is also on Instagram, although she's very disciplined with her time on Instagram. So don't DM her and expect a response right away.
I know. I feel so bad. I'm like,
no,
that's message. She's like, oh, I sent this to you 2 weeks ago. I'm like, oh, sorry. Again, you feel so much guilt, but you're like, I'm one person,
You're one person. I know. I feel like when my daughter is old enough, she would love to be like my social media, just like manager. I feel like that would be a gig for her. She also like wants a YouTube channel. I was like, girl, no, like, you need to wait. Like you need to calm down. But yeah, so for sure. No, but I think it's good. I think it's good that you're disciplined and you are not wasting time on Instagram. That's awesome. So Common Tags.
Thank you for having me. This has been fun. I will always chat with you.
I know. I love it.
And I think that this week is really, I set many goals for myself, but I think that having some motivation for people, because it's hard to pick yourself up out of kind of a slump. And I think a lot of us have kind of been like all over the place for months. So I think that the challenge is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I'm not challenging myself, but I am always challenging myself. So I'm there with you.
Yeah. No, it has been. The Facebook group has been amazing. Like I generally steer clear of Facebook groups when it comes to like reselling topics, just because, I feel like they're kind of all the same old. And I don't know. I don't really get very much value out of them usually, but this one has been really great. And maybe just because there's like a singular focus in mind, and there's kind of like a beginning date and an end date to it. But it's been really motivating for me, especially. So yeah, it's been really good. So thank you for giving us your words of wisdom and hopefully the boost that some of us need to finish the day out strong and, like even start the week off well. So you're awesome.
Photos. We all need to like drop everything, get the listing done,
especially you, Hope, if you're listening, get your things online. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you guys all for being here. And I will be making a donation soon to the shooter. I forgot what it's called. Harmony Project. Yes. Yes. So I will be posting that on my Instagram so you guys can see. But you guys are awesome. Creole Care Box. You need a link to the Facebook group. Are you on Instagram? If you are, DM me and I will get you the link.
It's also linked in all of your recent videos.
It is, but I took it out because technically it's closed. But it's okay. So I will put my email in here and you can email me and I will get the link to you. All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Courtney. Everyone have a great night. Thank you. And